Layoffs happen. So in this video, I'm going to talk about some things that you can do after a layoff and what I'm planning to do in the coming months. This is a sign of light in unforeseen circumstances. Let's do this.
Hey, I'm Leo. I'm an iOS developer and learned to code in 2015. I don't have a traditional CS degree, and I got into tech because I've always been entrepreneurial. Getting laid off sucked, but now I see it as a blessing in disguise. Have you also been laid off in tech? How are you dealing with it? I'll start with how I'm getting through it. I don't know where I got that idea from. The red was supposed to symbolize like
evilness
from working at 9 to 5. That was a bit dramatic. So the most obvious thing that you can do after getting laid off is to go on a vacation, right? Fortunately for me, I already went on a vacation. I visited Malaysia to visit most of my family. It was awesome. I ate a lot of good food. I gained weight. I got fat. Was it awesome? Little did I know, a month and a half later, I would get laid off. So it just doesn't feel right to take another vacation after that. Working on 2, 3, 4 projects at a time, it can really drain your batteries. You're often taking the work home, thinking about your projects in the shower, while you're having dinner, during the weekends. High stress, high stress. Anyways, take a vacation if you need to. You'll know when you need one. The second thing that I plan on doing is trying something new. And when I say something new, I don't mean something like completely new. I hope not. It's something that you've sort of been passionate about, you've been doing on your personal time. To be honest, I've had a DSLR camera ever since I was 21. My best friends bought it for me right before I graduated college, and they bought me a Canon T4i. So it's not entirely new, but it's new enough where I want to give it an honest try while I'm laid off and I still have severance. The third option is start applying for jobs. A couple points about the job market. The job market is always going to be extremely crappy depending on who you ask. I'm privileged right now where I have 7 to 8 years of experience. And you might be thinking, oh, Leo.
7 to 8 years. People just messaging you with job offers so easy.
No, mother. The hardest time for me was in 2015 when you would think the job market was great. Everyone was like, what are you doing? What are you doing? What is this programming boot camp? What is that about? What I'm trying to say is the job market is always going to have its ups and downs. Stay focused, get into tech if you believe in tech, get into programming if you believe in programming. I am constantly anxious. I know that iOS development won't always be around. If you think about it, iOS has only been around since 2007, since the first iPhone came out. And that's, 15 years? 15 years now, 16 years? Not too long. I mean, IBM's still around, but who the f is IBM? And one of the things that I am doing, actually starting this month, is taking a remote bootcamp in Android development. So in 2015, I took a in-person mobile bootcamp, 3 months, it's like $17,000. Expensive, very expensive, but obviously it was worth it when you think about it 8 years later. Okay, let's talk strategies for job hunting. I'll be brief. If you're not good at LeetCode, study LeetCode. For those of you who don't know, LeetCode is probably the best service you can use to study for common data structures and algorithm questions, technical questions. LeetCode is probably the best platform because they have a big library of actual questions that big companies have used in the last 6 months. You know, I'll give you an example. For the last company that I interviewed for, at least 2 questions that I got in the real interview, I saw on LeetCode. And it's a little embarrassing because I didn't do too well overall with the interviews, even though I knew 2 of the problems. I'm sure the company knows it and they don't care because they know people like me can still flunk the interview if they have the problem. Okay, let's do a quick break and talk about our sponsor, Resplit. I built it. It's a simple app. It's like Splitwise, but privacy focused. It allows you to scan a receipt. You choose the participants and you just simply say who got what. It'll automatically tell you if tip was already included in the receipt. And when you're done, you simply just share with your friends and boom. Simplifies life, no sign-in required, privacy safe. Download Resplit in the iOS App Store. For Android, maybe one day after I finish my bootcamp. We'll see. Contrary to what you might believe, recruiters want you to do well. In fact, everyone wants you to do well when you're interviewing for a company. It's expensive. You're taking an hour of 5 to 6 people's day to see if you're a good fit to work with them. For free. And no recruiter wants to call and give you the bad news, especially if you didn't do well on LeetCode. LeetCode. This is what that rejection sounds like.
Finally had a chance to meet with the hiring committee today, so I met with them. We took a look at all of the feedback from the interview performances. Unfortunately, they have decided not to move forward at this time, though.
That's fair. That is fair.
So I just wanted to give you a call and try to provide as much feedback as possible, because I know especially with these, it can be sometimes of like a black box. So honestly, the highlights really came from the system design interview, right? I think the system design interview performed really well. The behavior round also went fine as well, so there weren't any concerns around that. I think the majority of the concerns that the hiring committee did have really came from the 2 coding rounds. It looks like there was just a lot of struggling on, both of the coding rounds. I know one of them you solved one of the questions, but it was more of like the consistent signal that we got across both of them that led the hiring managers to decide not to move forward at this time.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah, and I think the good news is, the coding is probably the easiest to really improve upon, right? It's, to be honest, it's really just a lot of LeetCode grinding.
Yeah.
But if you're able to improve upon...
Okay. The next thing is public speaking. Practice with a friend, practice with a mirror, talk about the things that you've done in your past job, go through the common questions such as what is something that you overcame with a coworker, what is the most exciting project you've worked on, those type of questions.
The question is the biggest weakness I had in my last job. In my last job, I don't think I had any weakness.
Just practice speaking it out loud and sharing it with authenticity, but also enthusiasm. That is the hardest part. That's a good transition for the next point, which is trying to network and working on your communication skills. Meet other people. Talk about things you're working on. I had 2 or 3 friends who lent me a hand with a referral. No promises on getting a job, but it's better than trying to cold email, cold LinkedIn. I hate when people cold message me on LinkedIn and ask for a referral. Don't just go ahead and say, hey, can you give me a referral, please? Thanks. It drives me nuts. It drives me nuts. Network with people, be genuine. We're humans. Let me actually just jump back to building experience and skills, because it is so important. If you have 1 to 2 years of experience, building your own apps is so critical. I'm not talking about just apps in your GitHub or your own private Scratchpad. You need to get it out into the world. Okay, buy a domain, find something for $9 a year, take your web application, deploy it, make it look pretty, get an icon, pay someone to make an icon for you, to make it look nice, like a real product, as if it were its own company. That's how much you should go and market yourself. Because when people see that on a resume, they're processing your resume in 10 seconds, right? If they see a block that says whatever your personal project is, and they type it in on their web browser, it'll look like a real legitimate app. And that is just huge signal. Ultimately, they might think, okay, well, this is a very simple app, but it shows that you went above and beyond to make it look nice. You bought your own domain, you tried to solve a pain point, you did everything you could to package it nicely. And that's what employers want. They want someone to go above and beyond and not just be like a coder. So in summary, I'm going to vacation. I'm going to take some time off. I'm going to try some new things. I know at some point I have to get another job, but for now, I'm just going to enjoy it. I'm just going to enjoy it as best as I can. Unless, I don't know, maybe if I had 2 million subscribers, I don't have to work again and I could just be on YouTube full time. Give me a like, give me a subscribe. Until the next one. Peace.
In unforeseen circumstances. Let's do this. Cut, freaking cold.